Let's head back to our terminal. Hit Ctrl-C to stop the current ng serve, and then I'm going to clear my terminal with the clear keyword, or CLS on Windows. And now we are going to say ng generate. Now ng generate allows us to generate project-specific files. You don't necessarily have to understand what these files are at this point in time, just that we'll be using it throughout the course to generate boilerplate code. Some examples of things that we can generate are components. So let's generate a component. And at its heart, a component is simply a reusable piece of functionality. And we'll call our component simply my component. Let's hit enter. And you can see that it creates all of these different files and updates our app module.ts. The different files that it creates is a HTML for our view, so that's the content of the component or the piece of functionality. The CSS, which is the styling of our component. The TS file, which is all the functionality of the component. And the spec.ts, which is the testing functionality for the component itself. We're then updating the app module.ts, and that is essentially a list of all the dependencies inside of our project. So the root app module is responsible for holding all of the different things that make up our project. So all of the different components, services, and other functionality. So we can generate everything from directives, which we'll look at in the future, so don't worry too much for now. Just know that we can generate a directive, a pipe, a service. We can make new classes, nav guards, interface, enums, and modules. If we wanted to generate this module inside of a particular folder, we could make a new folder by saying feature / and then the name of our module, so it'll be my module. So if we do that, you can see that it installs our module. It creates a new file under the feature folder, which creates then a new folder for our module, and then the mymodule.module.ts. If we quickly look at our project and we head over to our app.component.ts, and the way that I'm traversing the file system at the moment is with Command P inside of Visual Studio Code. It will be Control P on Windows, and you can simply type the name of your file. So if we wanted app.component, it would tell us where it is inside of source/app. But otherwise, you could do this by hitting Command B, and I imagine it's Control B on Windows. And if we just navigate to source, appcomponent.ts. And straight away you can see that we have what's known as a selector. That selector allows us to use that component inside of our HTML. And the prefix for any component that we would make at the moment is app. And if we go back to our Angular CLI.json and we find our prefix here, which is app, you can see that we could change that to be our specific project. So if we change that to awesome, you could see that any new components that we would generate would get the selector of awesome-something. There are other ways to change this as well. If we head back over to our command line, you can see that we can use ng generate, and I'm simply going to make a component that would be in the feature folder and currently a folder called my module, but we could also prefix this with something different. We could use -- prefix equals and change this to something like banana. So this would then use a different prefix than the awesome prefix that we specified. And if we headed over to our my-module.component.ts, don't worry, we won't name anything like this inside of the course, but you can see that we now have the selector of banana-my-module. So you can change this whenever you're generating new things with the Angular CLI, but by default it will be app. We've changed that inside of the Angular CLI config, but if you wanted to change things on the fly with the prefix attribute, you totally could.